From King to a God, the latest studio album by Buffalo rapper Conway the Machine, which also happens to be the proper debut album by this man, despite the many multiple great projects that are in this man's discography. Just like his Griselda brother Westside Gunn, Conway the Machine has also been dropping a bunch of projects back to back all year long. Earlier this year, Conway the Machine dropped a collab mixtape with none other than the Alchemist himself. Is a mixtape entitled Lulu. It's a pretty dope, sort of old school boom bap style project. Obviously the Alchemist is a really dope producer, so obviously it was not disappointing whatsoever. I think a lot of people really love working with the Alchemist. And only a few months later, he made yet another collab mixtape entitled No One Mourns the Wicked, which is the collab mixtape with producer Big Go's LTD, which I guess is also Conway the Machine. I actually don't know that. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's still a really great project, because it is like a much more like a soulful sort of like hip hop album, just to sort of remind people, why hip hop music was incredible in the first place and why it should forever be respected and why it will forever be respected as the years go by. And now with his official third project of the year, Conway the Machine has shown that he is obviously a lot hungry for more. In my opinion, Conway is by far the most underestimated and probably the most underappreciated, rapper from the whole Griselda crew. Don't get me wrong, every other, Griselda member has a lot of their own unique ways that make them sound perfect. Westside Gunn has that more jazz and gritty style, and Benny the Butcher is just a really great hardcore rapper that I enjoy hearing all the time. But for me personally, Conway the Machine was the reason why I even decided to give the Griselda people a chance. He was the first person out of that whole crew that I, heard an album from, and it was the reason why I really, really do love and and the reason why I closely try to follow up everything that the Griselda people are doing. The album title and the whole project in general should come off as a metaphor to pretty much the many obstacles Conway had to go through to be the rapper that he is now and to get to the success that he has at the moment. For those of you that don't know much about Conway's story, which I'm guessing most of you don't because he is super underrated, unfortunately, but a few years back he did unfortunately get shot. I'm not aware or don't recall of how many times, but he did get shot, and that unfortunately left his face partially paralyzed for the rest of his life. If you were to see a picture of him, you would notice that his face is a bit paralyzed, and it's unfortunately gonna be like that because of the gunshot. And so this man has pretty much after a shooting that should have killed him, but he thankfully survived. He decided to pretty much take that as a chance and as a sort of a sign to do more with his life and to do something really big, because not that many people get second chances, especially after getting shot. And so he pretty much made a bunch of street rap related albums, mixtape by mixtapes, just a bunch of greedy mixtapes over the years. His discography is filled with a lot of great greedy mixtapes of street rap, always talking about the consequences of it. And he just overall has really, really, evolved from being just this nobody boy from Buffalo to being probably one of the most unique voices that we have in hip hop at the moment. I think what I like the most about Conway the Machine is the fact that he's able to bring that really great style of boom bap rap that unfortunately, gets not that much appreciated. Not that many people talk about that great era of hip hop. The reason why a lot of the new school rappers of today are starting to become rappers. He pretty much takes that forgotten era and brings it back and just gives it this little bit of a modern twist, and he just he makes it sound super nostalgic, especially obviously for those that were around to witness that great era of hip hop. They obviously feel really proud, and they take a lot of pride that an artist like Conway is shining light on that forgotten era. But it also does have the same appreciation for those who are growing up in modern day times. And it does give them the same satisfaction and same appreciation to like what that era of hip hop, you know, sounded, and why, you know, a lot of people would consider it to be, you know, one of the greatest eras of hip hop history. So Conway once again comes through with that old school rap with a modern twist on his new project, and in my opinion, he does kind of sound like an unofficial member of the Wu-Tang Clan, if that makes sense. You know, like just his flow and just the overall like production value of the album, it just sounds, it sounds something that would come from a Wu-Tang member, which is kind of weird to say because Conway isn't a part of the Wu-Tang at all. And to be honest, I'm totally here for it. You know, I really love hearing a rapper sound like such like great legends, but at the same time he like just has his own style, which makes it so much more fucking unique than any other like modern artist or just any other modern rapper in general. Conway's flow has definitely gotten better. You know, this album is living proof of just how much he's improved, you know, both, you know, with his flow and lyrically as well. You know, lyrically he is always so fucking satisfying to hear. You know, he is so damn clever. You know, he knows how to, you know, work his words well. You know, he knows how to be like really smooth about it. You know, he just honestly just has shown so much fucking improvement, you know, than his other past projects. And, you know, this album turned out to be, you know, one of my favorite projects that this man has made. Admittedly, I gotta say that the production value on this album is probably, if not the best fucking production that I've heard in a rap project all year. You know, not only does he, you know, collaborate with many like great producers that he's worked with before, like Alchemist and, you know, Beat Butcher and shit like that, but he's also collaborated with like a lot of talented producers, you know, including Murder Beats and, you know, the golden age like fucking hero himself, Eric Sermon. You know, he just had so many great, you know, producers on this album. You know, Conway definitely went all out, and, you know, I am totally here for it. You know, he definitely went all out for his proper debut album, and I have no doubt that, you know, it is going to be recognized and remembered for a very long time as probably one of the greatest rap projects of the decade. Just like always, Conway the Machine comes through with, you know, a bunch of like great storytelling about the street life and the hustle that a lot of the fans have admired for a very long time now, since the very beginning. But he does also have a few tracks that are some like really like deep and empowering like personal like tracks, and, you know, sort of like lessons and messages to him, you know. But specifically my favorite track, Front Lines, which is a really great and hardcore, you know, Black Lives Matter like empower anthem. You know, I just really appreciated, you know, him finally adding his like 2 cents. You know, I feel that he's been, you know, a bit, you know, like silent about the whole like Black Lives Matter, you know, movement, and, you know, just everything going on with police brutality at the moment. But, you know, I had no doubt that he was like gonna come through with a track or at least an album eventually, because I know Conway does not fuck around with that shit. And, you know, Front Lines is just a perfect example of, you know, just how passionate he is about it, and just like really like shows you what this man can do when he's like super passionate. You can like really hear, you know, his tone, like the emotion in his tone and shit. You know, you just honestly just hear so much emotion. You know, you can obviously tell, you can obviously tell that he is super passionate about it, and, you know, he cares a lot about, you know, the whole situation. And, you know, I just really enjoyed that track. And just like his past projects, Conway the Machine comes through with an incredible guest list that, in my opinion, is just as good as ever. You know, I honestly thought that a lot of, you know, the guest list in past projects were gonna be hard to top, but honestly, he proved me wrong because he came through with such an incredible fucking guest list. So y'all remember that I said that Conway sounds like an unofficial member of the Wu-Tang every time he like does these like old school type of rap songs, and, you know, just, you know, all of his discography in general. Well, it's pretty funny that I mentioned that, because there is actually a track on here entitled Lemon, which has a guest feature with none other than Wu-Tang's own Method Man. I was really excited to see Method Man on this track list because I knew for a fact that him and Conway were gonna work so well together. You know, I knew for a fact that they were gonna go just fucking stupid crazy. You know, I knew they were just gonna go fucking in and not hesitate, and, you know, just give us a taste of what people would consider to be real hip hop. And, you know, it didn't disappoint me one bit. You know, Method Man and Conway the Machine unsurprisingly work so well together. You know, they obviously have, you know, the same sort of style. You know, Conway has taken a lot of inspiration from the Wu-Tang, obviously. You know, and you just hear him collaborate with somebody like Method Man is somebody, it's something that I've actually been wanting for a very long time. And I feel that a lot of, you know, like the OG fans have been wanting for a very long time now, and to just finally see this duo happen is something that I feel I'm going to remember for a very long time because it was just so fucking great. But another really great nostalgic song throughout this whole album is the track entitled Juvenile Hell, which consists of a guest appearance of none other than Lloyd Banks and Havoc themselves. For those of you that don't know who Lloyd Banks or Havoc is, Lloyd Banks is somebody that was a part of a rap group back in the day entitled G Unit. It consisted of, 50 Cent, The Game, two people that I'm sure a lot of people know who they are, and another person named Young Buck. These four were like killing the fucking rap game at that back at the time. They unfortunately had a bit of a fallout. I don't know if everything is okay now. I'm assuming not because 50 Cent is super fucking petty, unfortunately. But at the time they were really incredible. They were like super hardcore. They were just like one of the best, sort of like gangster groups that came out back in the day. And Havoc is actually somebody who was a part of a rap duo entitled Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep is like a really great hip hop duo. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, hip hop duo ever in hip hop history. He was alongside a rapper called Prodigy, who unfortunately passed away back in 2017, I believe. God damn, it has been that long already. We're in 2020 and Prodigy has been dead since 2017. Fuck, that shit. That shit kind of hits me hard, actually. Juvenile Hell is pretty much this fucking, Mobb Deep, tribute in general. It's a really like great, nostalgic sort of like Mobb Deep vibe, sort of song. Conway obviously wanted to go full fucking nostalgia throughout this whole album. He really wanted to give people a taste of what real hip hop looks like and how it was back in the day. And to just hear him, like rap next to people like Lloyd Banks and Havoc. He just honestly sounded super great. Lloyd Banks still has that same gritty and iconic fucking voice and that great flow that I really loved. I feel that Lloyd didn't really get that much recognition out of the whole G Unit crew. I feel that he is a lot more better than Young Buck. I know that The Game and 50 were definitely like the more popular ones at the G Unit. Both Buck and Lloyd didn't really get that much recognition, but I feel that Lloyd is a lot more better than Buck in my opinion, and it shows on this track in my opinion as well. And Havoc himself I felt, was super underestimated and super underappreciated when it comes to Mobb Deep. Obviously Prodigy was the more popular, like rapper out of the whole duo. He was a great lyricist. He was a great performer. He was just always a big highlight in every Mobb Deep album. And Havoc was just there in like the shadows, unfortunately. He was obviously a really great rapper as well, but Prodigy just always got the attention, and that's just the way it is. And to just hear him, not only shine on his own and just show the amount of talent that he also has and like why he also was a big important part of Mobb Deep, but to just like hear him like pay tribute to his fallen Mobb Deep brother was just something like super emotional to a lot of people. And it was just like really super cool to see Havoc once again come back to sort of give us that Mobb Deep vibe. By far the most surprising track out of this whole album, and just out of every other track that Conway has done in general, is definitely the track entitled Seen Everything But Jesus. The reason why this track is super fucking like memorable, and the reason why it's so surprising, is because Conway sings on this fucking track. I'm not even joking. Conway fucking sings. This man, I don't think I've ever heard a single track where he's singing. I might be a bit wrong because I'm not like, that well at remembering stuff, but I'm assuming that he's never like really like sang in a lot of his albums. Is the reason why he would have a lot of, features where like the artist would sing hooks for him. And to just like hear him like sing a hook for this song was like something so surprising. He does have a really decent singing voice. Yeah, he has a really like deep voice when it comes to rapping, but I think he like worked really well with his singing voice, a sort of like more deep and darker voice. And he just honestly like surprised the fuck out of me. I was not expecting this man to sing. And besides his singing voice, this song has a guest appearance by none other than Freddie Gibbs himself, who is just a really talented lyricist in general. I feel that he is super underrated. Not that many people know who he is, which is really unfortunate because he is just super fucking talented. Freddie Gibbs, he never fucking disappoints. And I'm glad that somebody's giving him a fucking spotlight. Freddie was really dope in this track, but again, the most memorable and like the biggest highlight in that song is the fact that we all got hit with a fucking surprise in our faces when we heard Conway sing. And of course, it wouldn't be a Conway album, or it just wouldn't be a Griselda album in general, if there wasn't an appearance by all three of the Griselda dudes. You know, Benny the Butcher and Westside Gunn show up on a track entitled Spurs 3, which is their typical, you know, sort of lyrical tag team, you know, match sort of like song. You know, I know that all three of them like to include like a lot of, you know, a lot of wrestling, you know, audio and wrestling, you know, references throughout their whole like projects. And this song was a perfect example, you know, of, you know, Westside Gunn and Conway and Benny just doing a bunch of lyrical tag team shit. You know, they never disappoint. You know, I always get excited when I hear when I hear all three of them on an album, because I know that it's gonna be fucking crazy and it's gonna be like just as great. And you know, in in some way they fucking made it sound a lot more better than, you know, the past, you know, like songs and projects that all three of them have done together. I know there's talks and rumors about one more project coming out after this one this year. Pretty soon. It's going to be called God Makes No Mistakes. But if you're asking me, I don't know if he is going to be able to top this specific album off, because like I said, it became one of my favorite projects by Conway. You know, I actually really enjoyed every single track on here, including the interludes. You know, I enjoyed every second of this, you know, 51-minute masterpiece. You know, I highly recommend this album to each and every one of you. You know, it is something that you will not regret. It is probably one of the best rap projects, if not the best rap project to come out this year. You know, it was just, you know, something super surprising, you know, something a lot more different, and it is another like great addition to Conway's discography. So I don't know if it's going to top it off, but I, you know, am always going to be excited to hear it. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that, and hopefully he's able to top it off. But in my opinion, I don't think he will. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that button down below, all that good stuff, and don't forget to stay happy.
Machine, bitch, your favorite rappers wanna be me. I do they streaming numbers with the vinyl and the CD. Selling boy, you know I'm in the toy. When you see me, you see me.